Paris, October 15th, 1917. You are standing in front of 12 rifles. Stay with me, because the man who signed your death warrant later admitted there was no evidence, and he signed it anyway. Right now, you are the most famous woman in Europe. You do not yet know that fame is exactly what killed you. You were not born dangerous. You were born Margaretha Zell in the Netherlands in 1876. Your father went bankrupt when you were 13. Your mother died the same year. At 18, you answered a newspaper advertisement from a Dutch colonial officer looking for a wife. His name was Rudolph MacLeod. He was 38. He was violent. He was an alcoholic. You had nowhere else to go. You followed him to the Dutch East Indies, what is now Indonesia. You spent 8 years there. Your son died, poisoned, the servants said, by a soldier MacLeod had punished. The marriage collapsed. You returned to Europe with nothing, no money, no name, no skills the respectable world valued. One thing. You had learned to dance in Java. Paris in 1905 did not know what to do with you, so you told them exactly who you were. You invented Matahari, Eye of the Dawn, in Malay. You told the salons of Paris you were a Javanese temple dancer, born sacred, trained since childhood in the ancient rites of the Hindu gods. None of it was true. Every word of it worked. Within 6 months, you were performing for packed theaters. Within a year, generals, ministers, a Russian prince, the Duke of Brunswick, men who controlled armies and governments sat in the dark and watched you move and felt, for the first time in years, that they were not in control of anything. That was the product, not the dancing, the feeling. You understood something about powerful men that very few people have understood as precisely. They did not want women beneath them. They wanted, briefly, deniably, to kneel. And then they wanted to stand up, straighten their uniforms, and pretend it had not happened. You gave them this.
In the theater, in the private rooms afterward, in the long expensive arrangements with officers who paid your hotel bills and your dresses and believed, each of them, that they alone truly understood you. By 1914, you had lovers in the French military, the German military, a Russian prince, and a Dutch general. Then the war started, and every single one of them became dangerous to know. Here is what the official version of this story does not tell you. It does not tell you that French military intelligence approached you first. In 1916, an officer named Georges Ledoux offered you 1 million francs to spy for France, using your access to German officers to gather military intelligence. You said yes. You were not a German spy. You were a French recruit. It does not tell you that the Germans had already burned you. They had sent a message using a code they knew the French had broken, naming you as their agent H21, specifically to make the French suspect you. You were not their asset. You were their sacrifice. It does not tell you that the evidence at your trial consisted of 6 intercepted messages, none of which contained any actual military information. Troop movements, weapon specifications, battle plans, none of it. The messages described social meetings, names of contacts, things any socialite with military lovers might mention. The prosecutor knew this. The judges knew this. They convicted you anyway. If you are watching this and thinking about what it means that a woman could be executed for the crime of knowing too many men, leave a comment. I want to know whether you think Matahari was destroyed by the war or by something older than the war. Because I have read everything written about this trial, and I am still not certain. The trial lasted 2 days. 2 days to end the life of a woman who had spent 20 years building it. The charges were espionage, passing military secrets to Germany, causing the deaths, the prosecutor stated this in open court, of 50,000 French soldiers. 50,000. That number appeared in every newspaper in France the following morning. It was never supported by a single document in the case file. Not one verified death. Not one confirmed piece of intelligence. Not one instance where information attributed to you had demonstrably harmed a French military operation. The number was invented. Everyone involved knew it. The newspapers printed it anyway. You sat in the courtroom in a tailored suit and a wide-brimmed hat, and you watched the performance with the attention of someone who had spent 20 years reading audiences. You recognized what this was. It was not a trial. It was theater. And unlike every performance you had ever given, this was one where you did not control the ending. Here is what history does not tell you about what happened in that courtroom. It does not tell you that your defense attorney, Edouard Clunet, was 74 years old, had never argued a military tribunal case, and was in love with you. He was not retained for his legal skill. He was retained because no serious defense lawyer in Paris wanted the case. It does not tell you that the trial was conducted entirely in secret. No journalists, no public gallery, no independent observers. The full reasoning of the judges remained classified for 68 years after your execution. Ask yourself what takes 68 years to declassify. It does not tell you that Captain Georges Ledoux, the French intelligence officer who recruited you, who promised you 1 million francs to spy for France, testified against you at the trial. He sat across from you in that sealed courtroom and described you as Germany's most dangerous intelligence asset, the same man who had recruited you 6 months earlier.
He was arrested the following year on suspicion of being a double agent himself. The charges were eventually dropped. He later wrote a book calling you the greatest spy of the war. He never explained why the greatest spy of the war had produced no verified intelligence of any military value. He lived until 1933. He died quietly. Nobody put him in front of a firing squad. It does not tell you that one of the officers sitting in judgment stated privately after the verdict that the evidence was insufficient for conviction. He voted guilty anyway. Insufficient. That word was used by a man who signed your death warrant. Then he went home for dinner. You were held in Saint-Lazare prison for 7 months before the date was set. The cell was cold. The food was inadequate. You wrote letters to your daughter Banda, to former lovers who did not write back, to lawyers who could not help you. A Dutch diplomat attempted to negotiate your transfer to a neutral country. France refused 3 times. No explanation was given. You were not useful to France alive. You were useful as a story. The exotic foreign dancer, the dangerous woman, the femme fatale who had seduced half the officer corps of 2 armies. That story answered an uncomfortable question about why French military intelligence had failed so comprehensively in 1917. Why so many operations had been compromised. Why so many men had died. The real answer required examining decisions made by men with ranks and titles and political connections. Your answer was simpler. Your answer had a face. Your answer was already in prison. On October 14th, the night before the execution, a nun came to your cell and offered to hear your confession. You declined. You asked for pen and paper instead. You wrote 3 letters. Nobody knows who received them or what they said. October 15th, 1917. The Polygon of Vincennes. 6 o'clock in the morning. The grass is wet. The light is gray. 12 soldiers. A firing squad selected by lottery. An officer standing to the side with a pistol. Standard procedure in case the first volley was insufficient. You dressed carefully. A pearl gray dress, a tricorn hat, long gloves. You refused the blindfold. You looked at the 12 soldiers directly. You raised one gloved hand. The accounts differ on the gesture. Some said you waved, some said you blew a kiss. One soldier present said only, "She looked at us as if she pitied us." 12 rifles fired. You fell. The officer walked forward and fired once more into the back of your head. Standard procedure. You were 41 years old. In 1985, the French government opened the case files. Researchers found what the judges had known in 1917. The 6 intercepted messages used as primary evidence contained no military intelligence, no troop positions, no weapons specifications, nothing that could have caused the death of 50,000 soldiers. Or 5. No. The code the Germans used to identify you as their agent was a code they knew the French had broken. The message was constructed to be read by French counterintelligence. It was designed to implicate you. You were not their asset. You were their disposal method. The historian Julie Wheelwright, after reviewing the complete files, concluded that Mata Hari was convicted not on evidence of espionage, but on evidence of being a foreign woman with too many lovers and too little shame about it. That was the crime, not the secrets, the freedom. The woman who refused the blindfold, who looked at 12 rifles and raised her hand, who built an entirely new identity from nothing, moved through the most powerful rooms in Europe for 20 years on nothing but her own intelligence and her own nerve. She was not innocent of everything. She lied about who she was. She took money from powerful men and gave them what they paid for. But she did not sell military secrets. The files say so. 68 years of classified documents opened in 1985, and the conclusion was the same one the judge had reached in 1917 and ignored. Insufficient evidence. She was shot at dawn for the crime of being exactly what she was, in a world that had decided what women were supposed to be. And the men who ordered it went home for breakfast. Was Mata Hari a spy? The files say no. But is that even the right question? Because the trial was never about espionage. It was about what happens when a woman refuses to be contained, and the system finds a way to contain her anyway. Tell me in the comments, do you think she was destroyed by the war or by something that would have found her eventually regardless? Subscribe, because every story on this channel lives in that same space between the official version and what the files actually say. The history you were taught had all the answers. The real history only has questions.